Because we have a very, very limited seats, and all these seats number are agreed by both Swedish government and the Korean government. Okay? And also there are some reserved seats on the cushion, so please make sure you don't sit on the reserved.
in our space. All right, let's get the fun part of this show started. I need your help to kick off our esports exhibition match. So I'm going to count down from 5, and you're going to count with me. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
some damage in the form of a turn on the far left side, as well as the Ciara on the right. Of course, our representative there,
없습니다. 제가 이해한 것은 정말로
Well, I don't come here today. I'm just stunned by all these scenes, and I wonder how much His Majesty has understood that what I've seen is truly amazing. I am here because I wanted to see young people from our countries who want to develop. And so all the more meaningful that His Majesty could truly live as well.
오늘 전 세계적으로 많은 사랑을 받고 있는 이유를 알게 됐습니다. 지금 봐도 말씀드렸습니다. 다른 나라가 얘기하고 말씀드렸습니다.
Watching the games today, I can see why esports is wildly popular all over the world. Even for a novice like me, it is fascinating to watch. And of course, all the players have given all of the goals by showcasing their quick thinking and astute strategies.
뿐만 아니라 나는 한국에서 세계를 통치가 놀랐습니다.
And besides, I thought that Korea is the first top of the world when it comes to games, but Sweden is quite good as well. Sports has been fully recognized as another form of sports making. Asian Games, while the International Olympic Committee has also explored cooperation between esports and Asian
오늘 직접 보았습니다만 최근에는 아이디어를 더욱 놀라운 속도로
as I've just witnessed myself today. Korea boasts strong game industries and above and it's also our cooperation and rivalry
더욱 인간에서
Of encouragement for both of our players.
따뜻한 격려의 말씀을 보내주신 문재인 대통령님께 진심으로 감사 인사를 전하고 싶습니다. 자, 그리고 귀한 시간 내셔서 e스포츠 기기 전에 함께해 주신 한국과 스웨덴의 두 정상님들은 여러분의 따뜻한 박수로 환송해 드리도록 하겠습니다. 여러분 박수 부탁드리겠습니다.
Alright, let's hear one final word for both of our leaders. Today to be able to share sports just with not only athletes, audience members right here behind us, but also with some of the most important leaders in the world. And I really think that's the great thing about sports is that it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, what you do, as long as you have a love and as long as you really have that passion. Well said. Unifying experience and awesome people together as well. So we've got hockey records out there. Okay, it looks like this is also by the game. Okay, then we have another student here, our South Korean competitor. Now, from what you understand or know about either one has maybe an advantage coming into our second Summoners War game?
You know, I'm glad you asked that. It's really tough to say right now because it's better to see it in the pick band phase, which we're about to see right now.
All right, that's right. We are about ready to get into our second Summoners War game of the day. I know I thought the first one was very, very exciting, so I can't wait to see what our players have in store for us here in game number 2 coming up.
Let's take a look. There we go. The players have queued up. Taki on the left, Byunja on the right. They're queuing up for the pick band phase, and now we're about to see who has a strategic advantage. We'll see who first pick goes to. Now, there's different advantages to picking first and picking last.
Okay.
Usually it's determined randomly, though today we might do a coin flip. Now, what comes with that is when you get that first pick, you're guaranteed to get the monster that you want on your team. However, it gives your opponent a better amount of time to adjust to what you're putting forward.
Okay, so if Taki, our Swedish player, it looks like he had the option to first pick there. How much of an advantage is that to get things started on your terms?
Some people will really like the first pick. Personally speaking, I'm actually more of a last pick fan.
Okay, why is that?
It lets you bring some of those more niche units that people aren't expecting. For instance, if someone brings a whole bunch of buffs, a lot of immunity and shields to protect their units, you have more of a chance to bring those units that will take those buffs away, and they won't see it coming.
Wow, yeah, that can be very surprising, and I guess it depends on kind of what play style you want. Another great characteristic of games like Summoner's War is that you are really able to personalize that game and play it your way, so you can really express yourself through your competition through games like Summoner's War.
Exactly, and I don't know if you heard earlier, but we were actually just playing a couple games in the dressing room downstairs when we were waiting for this to start, and you know, I ask these questions all the time. Is this monster runed a certain way? Rune being the equivalent of equipment, something that makes your monster really your own.
Kind of the different customizations that
Exactly.
you make.
And you can build it any number of different ways with different advantages, and the only way that you can tell what your opponent has it ruined as is fighting them.
Okay, well, that can be very surprising, obviously. You know, I hope that we get a chance to see some moments like that where there are some surprising customizations that might catch some of our players off guard.
Yes, I won't spoil anything yet, but I've already seen a couple from our players. I can only hope that they're going to bring monsters. The difficulty of having the microphone is that if you accidentally say something you shouldn't, the opponents get to hear what their enemy might pick.
Okay, yeah, right. So you have to keep things very secretive, keep all your strategies under wraps, and that's why we have Evan here to try to help us understand kind of the deep depth of some of our players' strategies. I thought really hard about that.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, right?
The depths tend to be deep from time to time. We're just waiting on our players to get ready for their second game, and then we can get underway with our next match.
There we go. It looks like Taki's been awarded with the first pick for this one.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and get into the game. They're queuing up right now. I'm excited to see what Taki does with this first pick.
That's right. You know, this is, like you said, sometimes a very strong advantage. It depends on your play style, and it also depends on, you know, kind of whether or not you are more of a controlling player or a reactionary player, what your strengths are, what your choices make. A lot of just really high-level decisions to make here.
Very true, and we spoke earlier about one of my favorite aspects of the game is that there is an RNG element on certain types, and that's the great equalizer. So if you save one of those units for the end, really surprise your opponents, such as the Fire Lich. And the Fire Lich's passive, he's become very relevant to the meta recently because his passive makes it so every time an enemy ends their turn, he has a small chance to take his own turn. Just get a turn out of nowhere. And
sounds pretty good.
It's even better because the longer he doesn't get that turn, the higher the chance becomes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so he's gotten very popular in the meta right now because there's so many units that have additional turns built into some of their skills.
And every time they take an additional turn, it makes his chance to take an additional turn even higher.
And so it's got your opponents sweating. As soon as they see it, they're like, do I ban it? Do I risk it? What do I do? And that's the equalizer.
Well, our opponents, our competitors today look pretty calm, cool, and collected. And, you know, that is one of the main characteristics of live esports events like this is that the pressure is really on.
And critted upon, then you're going to have your whole team's attack bars boosted, thus giving you more turns.
Okay, I mean, more turns sounds like a thing that's always going to be pretty good.
Always. Every game you play, whatever.
Okay.
If you want to compare it to card advantage in other games or just turn advantage in general, it's always going to benefit you. So that's a great unit to ban. Another one that's popped up recently is Daphnis, the Fire Fairy King. He was recently changed so that now his third skill takes away enemy buffs like that immunity we saw, allows him to put on a defense break, which is arguably the most important debuff in the game because it basically brings down their defense by 70%, and then it deals a huge amount of damage to that monster. So he's very strong, and I've seen him be pre-banned a few times now.
All right, it looks like our players are still attempting to enter our second match here, and this is actually just building so much anticipation.
It's building tension.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. You know, we've talked about a lot of possibilities about what could happen. I just want to see what actually does happen, and then we'll find out how many of the things that we got a chance to talk about actually happen, and then, you know, we can say I told you so and make Evan look pretty smart.
Exactly.
But I'm just really excited because there are so many options to see and really so many different ways that our competitors can individually express themselves here. Just a lot of potential we have yet to see.
There's so much that could change, go wrong, go well for these players in the future. And just seeing that first match had me weirdly hyped.
Weirdly hyped. What was the most exciting part of that first match, Evan?
So I get excited whenever I see those Monkey Kings in there, Jingjae, and what he brings to the table is a probability to counterattack a unit. So having to properly control him is a huge deal in whether or not you're going to succeed against a team that carries him.
So that's a big ability to have on your team. Is that something that you expect to see prioritized between the next two games that we have here?
I think so. Jingjae was recently changed so that he is his passive is much more reliable. He brings a lot of utility. You also see monsters such as like Ganymede and Hathor. They were both in the last games, though admittedly on different sides. Ganymede is the Wind Fairy King. Hathor is the Wind Desert Queen. She was the one that put everyone to sleep.
Okay, well, you know, there are a lot of very high fantasy elements to this, so if you've read a lot of fantasy literature or you're a fan of role-playing games online or offline, there's a lot of kind of similar thematic elements to this. And you know, the great thing about esports is that there are really games for everyone. So this might cater to you if you're a fan of reading more fantasy or science fiction books, and you're looking for a game that really gives you the opportunity to kind of live in that universe. But there are also games for other kinds, and really just something for everyone here in esports, and specifically Summoner's War.
Yeah, and just for today, I mean, we've got 2 games to showcase. We're bound to have something for somebody today. We've got League of Legends coming up later today after these next 2 matches, though right now we are experiencing a couple technical difficulties, but we'll get those rigged up as soon as possible. So thank you for bearing with us. Now, another note, I know I just brought up the Wind Desert Queen, but one thing that also gets me excited about matches like what we just saw is when somebody doesn't ban Hathor, but instead leaves her in. Because what happens then is now you have to adapt and make sure that you control her, otherwise your entire team is going to get controlled.
Wow. So a very key monster, specifically in not only this format, but in these games today. I'm sure we'll get a chance to see a little bit more of her, unless it is just banned immediately.
Which is a possibility.
Very possible.
Very possible.
Right.
And just speaking personally, she is usually my first pick in RTA. And the reason being is because it kind of forces the opponent to play around her. Because now if you pick her early enough, the opponent has the opportunity to adapt. And now you're ready for it because you've prompted them to do so. There are so many, like I said, I hate to say intricacies again, but it comes right back to it. There's so much that you can influence just in that pick ban phase.
Yeah, absolutely. So many things that you can impact at every single one of the phases of this game. And you know, every time that we get a chance to talk about this, there are going to be like just key moments. And, you know, it might seem like the game itself is just a whole bunch of, you know, things that you don't understand all jumbled together. But when you break it down, as we'll attempt to do, it really does play a little bit like a puzzle where you're trying to look at which piece is the right one to put in at each individual time. So if you like kind of that strategic mindset to have, Summoner's War has a lot of that going on.
Well said, because one thing after the pick ban phase that I struggle with personally, it's one of the biggest strategic elements of the game, is threat assessment. So you have to figure out which unit is the biggest threat to your team's stability, but not only do you have to figure it out, you have to figure out how to get to them.
Okay, how do you get to them? That's a big question.
So sometimes it's easy. Sometimes they're just out in the open. But now there's other units in the game, such as Vanessa and Triana. We actually saw Triana, the Wind Harp Magician, banned last game.
Okay.
And the reason why that is I often refer to her as a wall. Which is, it's a little bit unfair to her because she brings so much to the table. She brings immunity, but her biggest thing is that her passive ability, if a unit would be killed, they instead are reduced to 1 health and she gains a turn immediately.
Wow. Okay, so I know what a wall is, but what do you mean by describing a character in this game as a wall?
What I mean by she's a wall is that you have to take down her or navigate her passive before you can take down your threat because she's going to prevent their death. Okay. So it's and there's multiple units like that. So you sometimes have to play around with navigating this field that the enemy has brought to you.
Wow, it certainly makes things a lot more difficult.
Yes, it does.
Depending on what your strategy is.
It does, and I still struggle with threat assessment. It's hard. It's difficult to get to that level, but we're going to attempt to make it a little bit easier today. And the reason why that is because usually a standard RTA team brings 2 units that fit the same role, or at least 2 units. So you'll have 2 damage dealers, 2 support units.
Now, you use the term RTA. Why don't you explain a little bit about what that means in the context of today's game?
So that's real-time arena. the stage for this whole game that we're playing right now. In game, it's World Arena. It's a colloquialism to call it RTA.
Okay.
And now in that World Arena is where you compete against other players, though you'll notice that mostly end game, mid game players are going to be in that World Arena because you can't physically unlock the capability to play it until you're level 35. So by this point, you know your team, you know your monsters, how they're ruined, and how to defeat other monsters too.
All right, so you heard a lot of terms there. The real-time aspect of that is what we're doing right now, playing this game live, in person, against each other. And then the arena is the kind of battle that you're watching unfold between 4 monsters from both players, kind of duking it out head-to-head. And,
right.
you know, there are a lot of different kinds of arenas that a lot of different games have you battling in. For this one, it's primarily kind of turn-based, but it's not quite as rigid as a lot of other games that have each player take turns doing their moves. This time, there can be a lot more flexibility.
And here we go. Speaking of taking turns, looks like the players are about to take turns picking and banning right now.
That's right. That's absolutely what we could see here. I'm not sure exactly which player has the first turn, but here we go. Pre-ban.
Pre-banning Vanessa, another one of the walls I was speaking about, the Fire Valkyrie. So now Taki has been awarded the first turn, and Byunja is going to be picking last on the right.
Okay, so even though Taki's name is next to Byunja, just keep in mind he is the player at the bottom of your screen. So
Correct.
now we're about to have the first pick here for Taki.
So that's Ganymede, the Wind Fairy King. There she is. There's Hathor, the Wind Desert Queen on the right, along with Okeanos, my granddad, the Fire Sea Emperor.
So these picks are coming through very, very quickly. Is it safe to say that these players know exactly what they're going for?
Yes, you can tell that they're very familiar with these picks. In fact, so the unit that Taki picked second, her name is Fran, the Light Fairy Queen. She's become very popular. She's also weirdly accessible. Anybody can get them. Whoa! A second awakened monster? Wait, that content just came out.
Oh my goodness. So let me get this straight. We're seeing content here that maybe nobody else has seen
Yes,
yet.
that is what I like to see. Exactly that. So that is, if I'm seeing that correctly, I think that's the Fire Pixie I think I'm seeing right there. So that's brand new content. I'm talking just released a couple days ago, and he's found a way to already farm up a monster so that way he can use her in RTA. This is going to be a great show. I can't wait to see. Now there's Aegir and Malaka. Aegir being the Water Barbarian King, Malaka the Water Kobold Bomber. So that monster in the bottom left, Lauren the Light Cowgirl on Taki's side, that's the unit that I was talking about that I built up based on watching their stream. Following up with the bane of my account, Diana, the Wind Unicorn.
Okay. Wow, so a very unique draft. I don't think that anybody could have really predicted that we'd see something like this.
This is legitimately the first time I have seen this draft happen. This is very new content that they're dealing with right now, so I'm excited to see what comes of this. I'm hyped.
So this is going to be really exciting. We're finally about ready to get into our second match of the day. This is going to be very, very intense, very competitive, and both players have now chosen their leader ability, choosing speed on both sides.
There we go. Always a solid pick. You see, they're trying to get that first turn. Speed is the main determining factor of when your monsters go during the match. And now I saw that ban on Hathor from Taki, which was a great choice considering he only has one source of immunity from Fran. Everything's been stripped away. They're left with slow. Stuns coming out from Okeanos.
Wow.
Now, when you're stunned, you can't act on your turn. So this is huge. The whole board state is controlled from Taki's side. We're about to see something come out here. Now, Ganymede is free to reset somebody. Choosing to reset Samath, I would have done the same thing. Now, the reason why that is because once you reset him, he can't use his second skill, which increases the cooldown times of everyone, and he also won't respawn once he's killed.
Wow, so that's a lot to take in.
It
but
is.
Essentially, Taki has a big advantage right now. Is that safe to say?
I think it's safe to say that he's got a pretty big advantage. Considering look, his units are in a very good place. However, Diana is looking to change that, replacing all of the buffs with continuous damages. Those each deal 5% damage according to its maximum health when he starts his turn.
Wow.
That's a big hit. He's already almost dead.
That's incredible. And
the stun on Ganymede.
That's right. And so now Ganymede is unable to assist the rest of Taki's low health monsters.
And the bomber is looking like it just got the second foot in the grave, considering that the increased cooldown time means he's not going to be able to use any of his skills. Here comes Fairy's Blessing, putting up attack buff as well as immunity. His monsters are going to be dealing a lot of damage before they go.
And
Defense break.
that's huge because it protects his very low health, vulnerable units there, and actually is a great way to come back from taking all that damage.
Exactly, and you'll see that defense break on Diana. That's exactly what he wants. He wants to do huge damage to that horse before he goes down.
More heals coming through. A full heal back to full health. And look at that.
The glancing on Diana, that's huge, because now if she transforms, it's not safe. She needs to get critical hits when she's transformed, so he's probably going to go for the safe play. Just stay in the unicorn form. That was a great play by Byunja. I appreciate the defensive nature of that. Everybody's resisting. It wasn't exactly a great hit on Ganymede, considering that his second skill actually is immune to being reset. Defense break on Samath. Going for a defense break and attack bar reduction.
A lot of damage being done here, and I think it's really impressive to see how Taki has been able to turn the tides from a disadvantage there for a moment to now being in a fantastic position.
Yes, now he's in the position, he's actually dominating the game right now. That's not to say that Byunja can't come back, but it's going to be tough when you only got 3 monsters. It's going to be hard.
It's a huge kill, and now really sets the momentum going Taki's way. He's looking for another kill, and he gets it.
Diana's out. The big threat. Now he's going after Okeanos. What's great about Lauren the Light Cowgirl, she also reduces attack bar, so he's kind of controlling their turns, adding turn denial on top of this already steady game plan. Taki looks happy. Look at that, he's smiling in his
You can see
tablet.
a big smile on his face, and rightfully so. He has now doubled his advantage here in this game, and it's about to get even bigger.
You can feel that hit on Byunja. He leaned back in that one. Lauren's about to go for the kill.
I think he's about to get it. One more attack should do it, and there it goes.
The Water Kobold Bomber, who was looking to be the first one out, came back, got a kill.
Now we're going to see the little Byunja that tried.
Yeah.
And he is going to try here, but I think it's safe to say his disadvantage is astronomical at this point.
Yes, that's well said. Taki's happy, Byunja's not. This is going well. He's just taking the third skill, making sure that nothing weird happens in between now and his victory.
And you can see some smiles there on Byunja's face as well. He's having a good time with this too, knowing that at this point, his days are a little bit numbered.
Yes, this is, again, this is all for fun. It's an amazing match to watch. And that's it. Congratulations.
Event so far, and we're 2 matches through.
Nice. Here we go. Third match is already up. We're in the pre-ban phase already. Obabo versus Beat D.
All right. That's right. We've got some very strong players here, but I think from what we've seen, Sweden certainly seems to have a big advantage.
Now, this is the matchup that I've been really wanting to see, and I think all the players, frankly, have been wanting to see it too. I was speaking to some of them last night, and they were saying, we want to see Obabo fight Beat D. Again, Beat D won SWC 2018 last year. I was there in Seoul, South Korea when he won.
So that's actually about the strongest player that Korea could bring out here at the very end.
Picking the Vertihile first. This is the Fire Vampire I was talking about before, the one that raises everyone's attack bar on crit. Magnificent monster, also great because everyone can get him.
So it's safe to say that you'd want to customize that monster with the ability to have more crits more times.
Exactly. So most players are going to have it with myself excluded. I've got him sitting at a fine 99% crit rate because I think it's enough. You're going to have him at 100% crit rate. Don't be like me. And usually people like to put him on revenge. And what that means is that when you attack that monster, they have a certain chance to attack back. And if he attacks and gets those crits, he's going to be bumping up the attack bars on his whole team.
Okay, so what's coming out next here from Beat D?
So now Beat D has brought Ganymede and Hathor. Those are the two units that we've seen before. Ganymede, another secondary awakened monster. It's the water fairy. I think I misidentified the last one. I think that was the fire fairy in the last one, not the pixie. This is incredible. Again, this is a brand new pick ban phase. I've never seen anything like this ever before. So, and also I just want to acknowledge Beat D with the respect pre-ban to Fran, the light fairy queen that we saw before. That was the one that provided the attack buff and the immunity for the team ahead of time. She's incredible monster, very accessible, so it's a safe ban too, knowing most people are going to have her built.
That's right. So you can see some smiles on both players' faces, knowing that they're actually fighting each other on a very high level right now.
They are. This is exciting. This is they've been wanting to fight just as much as we've been wanting to see them. Oh, wow. He went ahead and picked up the water sniper, which is an important pick because he actually ignores defense on his third skill, which is, if you play Summoner's War, that's one of the craziest phrases you can say. That means most damage reduction effects that are built into stats are going to be completely ignored. He's just going to deal that damage straight to you, and you might see it in-game.
Now, with as powerful as that monster is, I think it's safe to say we might just see it banned right here.
We may. So, like right now, we also see Daphnis, the Fire Fairy King, on the left side, went ahead and banned the Brownie Magician on the left, which I definitely respect because it's an attack bar booster as well as applies other buffs, and ban the Tyrannus on the right side, which again I think is a great ban because he brings a lot of variables to the fight, such as revive and just things that tend to elongate the game, and you don't want to work around that. Now, Obabo's in a situation where he's left Ganymede and Hathor, which is one of the notable combos in Summoner's War because Hathor's third skill, the one that puts everyone to sleep, has a long cooldown, but Ganymede can refresh it.
Oh boy, so we're already getting things started. Lots of protection on both sides, but crucially for Obabo, it doesn't hit.
No! He resisted it! No defense break! That was Daphnis. He was attempting to put the defense break on after stripping away that buff, but it didn't land. But here comes Ciara following up. This could be the kill if he chooses to kill. Great. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Ganymede.
Wow, you know, it's so rare that we see a monster killed within the first 2 turns.
And another! Obabo with the quick kill from the sniper.
I mean, you say quick kills, but these are the most incredibly fast kills we've seen all day.
2 resistances on this side. So now, admittedly, those were some important sleeps. Beat D's shaking his head right now. This is looking to be a pretty clean sweep. Why was that the hardest thing I've had to say all day?
Wow, well, that's exactly what happened. 3 monsters now asleep on Obabo's side. I mean, that makes it kind of a 2-on-1 momentarily, and especially now with the freeze coming through.
Yeah, now with the frozen monster. There we go. Full team CC. Great job, BD. Right before he does that, and it's an awesome opportunity to see those secondary awakened monsters. I love seeing that. Brand new pick ban phase. Hathor is going to try to put an attack break on somebody, just trying to make something happen, prolong the game a little bit, try to get that comeback, because if there's one thing he's got, he does have sustain on this side, and he's got an excess of crowd control. So if he delays the game enough, when that attack power starts going up and the HP starts going down as the fight drags on, he might have a chance to come back, but it's going to take an act of God.
That's right. As you can see there on screen, the attack power for all monsters rises as the number of turns increases, and their HP, their hit points, their health essentially decreases. So it makes the game more and more volatile the longer you play.
Exactly. Here we go. So now Obabo's trying to secure another kill on that unit. BT's just laughing it away. There it goes, popping the ball.
Nothing he can do.
Nothing he can do. Obabo's happy. Love it. This is a great game, gentlemen. Thank you.
That's right.
Awesome.
We're on the verge of seeing a 3-game victory streak here for Sweden.
They must be so happy representing their country like that. That's so cool. There we go. Now we see the attack bar increase from Verd. That's why he's so dangerous, and that's why the threat assessment came into play. Trying to lock down that Vertihile early so that way he doesn't benefit from the attack bar boost. There we go. That's the last hit on Hathor. Congratulations to Obabo for that clean win.
That's right, boom goes the dynamite, an explosive way to win our final game of Summoner's War for today.
So guys, that was the 3rd match of Summoner's War, and now we're going to be gearing up for the League of Legends match almost right away.
That's right. We are really going to be moving very, very quickly between these things. We've had 3 games of Summoner's War as our first esports title that we've been showcasing for you here today. And coming up next, we'll be showcasing our 2nd esports title, which will be League of Legends. And so a very different style of game, and hopefully one that will kind of show you the true versatility that exists in esports. So many different titles and styles of games out there. out there.
Exactly, and this one specifically, League of Legends is one of the deepest games out there of the MOBA genre. So
That's right.
Now you like these teams that are coming forward, right? You were telling me you have some opinions on these teams.
That's right. And so for our game that we just saw, Summoner's War, that's a 1 versus 1 kind of environment. So in that live battle arena, the players face off against each other individually. And there's a lot of esports titles that are like that, 1v1. But our next game coming up, League of Legends, is going to be 5v5. So it takes that initial 1v1 and cranks it up by 11 and breaks off the knob.
Exactly.
We've got so much coming up that I think you're really going to love kind of the added complexity. 10 total players, 5 from each country, and you're right, Evan. I was actually looking at some of our players here today, and for South Korea specifically, they are a nation that has a long-standing pedigree for a very powerful League of Legends team. They've won multiple world championships and have just statistically produced an incredible number of very strong players. So I'm very excited to see if this will be another showcase of that very strong South Korean League of Legends talent.
Yes, because we saw the clean wins from the Swedish side when we were doing Summoners War a second ago, but now's the chance for Korea to come back and secure a win off of League of Legends. Now, we're only going to be doing one match of League, right?
That's right. You might have noticed that those games of Summoners War take between 5 and 10, 15 minutes, but for this game of League of Legends, we're looking at more than 20 to 45 minute time frame, and this is going to be an awesome introduction as we welcome our players up on stage. There we go. That's right. You see them sit their faces right behind us. Moments away. Start off. Some stability. That's
Llama, though my favor is kind of a kiss of death at this point. Every single one of the players that I'm saying is going to win has lost. Everybody in the tournament is very confident. You know what I mean? You need that. Once you got here, you need to be confident because by now you know you deserve to be amongst the best.
We got the player profile here coming in, probably for D. Den, first place last season, Season 6 RTA, 2-1 against GGP and 3-2 against Matsu.
Wow, he's got the crowd going here.
Both players super confident.
5 battles, up to 5 games. Gotta be breaking this bit.
I'd imagine he'd opt for... He's going for the Rakuni, just so that Rakuni cannot surge himself up. I'm actually surprised by that Rakuni, but you're right, that was actually an excellent choice. Cleansing the dots. Cleansing the dots off of Molong, so Molong's still with us for a second.
Oh, he gets the proc!
Okay. Alright, we're going to be ventilating again. We have a Hathor here. Here's the question. Most amulets are in despair. He's going to try to despair stun.
Oh, it resisted!
The attack
It resisted the attack.
Right, the attack bar reduction. Can't resist the despair stun, so we just resist the attack bar reduction. You're right. Got too excited. Again, in full control of this battle here.
This is like TOA Hard Stage 91.
Yeah, bringing this TOA team into the SWC World Finals.
Never going to move. Now, whoever you choose to target next, he's also going to be able to reset with Ganny's third skill. This is easy picking.
Oh, gets the proc! Penalty on Hathor.
The cycle just does it. Can he get the despair stun?
History repeats itself.
Gets a decreased attack bar, but no despair stun. Still going to have the skill come out here into the third skill of Hathor.
He could go down to 10 and he could kill. Yeah, he could kill Rakuni. I think he could have killed Ondu out there.
Yeah. Now, if we got a quad despair stun there, it would be a different story. Maybe have a chance to do something. If he yells justice, it will crit. Doesn't crit.
That's confirmed. If you yell justice.
Justice! Man, at this point, I guess he's just throwing skills wherever he likes. He's got this in the bag.
There you go. Beat D taking the first round. This is the best of 5, so the first round doesn't mean as much as it used to in the quarterfinals. Alright, here we go.
Game number 2.
The first match of the finals.
Because you know Lucy's going first, Wolster will get the immunity. Here, you can have it reset, and you're not going to have immunity. You're not going to have any safeguard.
Oh, resisted! Oh no!
That's the dangers of using a sec med. Very underwhelming if you miss that third skill.
And he gets
But the defense break. Oh, that could set up Perna. Oh, I'm excited to see what comes of that Perna. Is he going to try to stun Perna? No. Trying to reset onto Triana here. Yeah. That's Nemesis lining up. It's all lining up so well. Get the sneak now. Three people's plenty. Resisted on Triana. Uh-oh.
That's fine.
Look at him. He's like, ooh, dear. He didn't like that. Doesn't matter that was ult for the first one. Here we go. Oh, resisted again. He's so confused. Helena's so not tired. Oh my gosh!
Okay.
There you go.
You said that Helena's can't move. Or do you kill?
Or do you kill? Because somebody
kill.
Yeah, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't take the risk. Great job, BT.
I mean, he was unsure if his Danny was going to be next. Danny would take the kill, so that's a lot safer. But he could have also reset the Helena here to not be able to do this because this is bad.
This is bad. Didn't get a proc, so it can buy the proc in unicorn form here. This is the scary part of
If it does
Helena.
pony things right here, if it gets that proc after this turn, we're going to see it again.
We see it again!
Oh no! Oh, look at BT! Oh no!
This is the start.
This is big.
Does it violent? It can do it
It
again.
can do it again.
22% chance. It can go again.
It can do it. Come on. Let me see it. I got excited. I saw additional turn.
No
more.
That's scary.
Oh,
That's
BT is probably very thankful. Saw his life flash before his eyes. Saw the collective lives.
Does he get the sleep? Does he get the stun?
Nothing's working for him right now.
No, actually, we're gonna see a third skill
right here.
Oh, no, just
ventilate. He's gonna actually.
Oh, he gets another opportunity.
I spoke too soon.
Never underestimate the Danny on
Both
that.
can't move. Both ponies can't move.
This might not be enough damage, actually.
Didn't even move.
Get the violent!
There you go. That's enough. That's enough.
Two-turn Perna is better. Okay.
Goodbye, Helena. Goodbye, big risk. Llama losing 2 in a row. That's something that I haven't seen before.
Wow.
Okay, beat D. Beat D with game point. He has his eyes on that prize.
Very strong showing there by BT. Both players know each other very well.
Just by being in the semifinals, they're guaranteed 10K.
All right, Danny trying to strip there, not able to get the strip. See, this is where the Triana with no immunity strives, right? There's the attack.
Oh, it gets the proc! That counters the counter of the Nemesis.
Okay,
the Nemesis still comes in, comes into play here. That's why you have the Nemesis Triana. Counter them along.
He attacks slow. Gets the spare stun. Dude!
That's big.
I almost didn't see Hawthorne stun behind Danny's wings.
Now, that's not enough damage here, but these multi-hits from Diana will probably be enough.
That could get through Triana's passive.
There we go! Wow.
There we go! Dead Danny got through Triana's passive.
Again, no violence, so Unicorn can actually buy the proc here. Has the chance to buy the proc after this first skill. Gets a proc. Now, cannot proc the Unicorn for here. Still get a stun though.
The ammunition taken out of the machine gun pony.
Gets the stun onto Triana.
Oh, here comes the Dragon's Dance!
Gets the
stun on Perna!
Everything going so right for BT here.
Nothing in Llama's favor right now. Here comes the monkey. Oh, the crowd is going wild for BT right now.
They're going crazy for him. Still one onto Danny here.
Proc? No, proc. No proc. Is this going to be a 3-0? Is this going to be a 3-0 on Llama? There's something I thought I'd never see.
He can't even do anything to inspire Monkey. That's a dead GG.
Is that enough? That's enough! He takes it! BT is our champion with a 3-0!
What an amazing showing by BT here. We have just found ourselves the 2018 SWC champion, BT.
He is the champion, number one. He earned that legend band, that legend brand, and now he's earned the number one slot, the SWC 2018. He is our champion, everyone. Everyone's putting their hands together. Everyone's so excited. This is huge.
The crowd is going crazy. Look at him.
What a great tournament. This was so much fun to watch. Thank you to everyone who participated. Once again, we hit every single one of our viewership rewards. We hit 30,000 right at the beginning with the Super Angel Mon, 50,000 for the 6-star Legendary Rune in your inbox, and 100,000 at the end for Devilmon. Enjoy that, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Genji walking up to the stage.
Starting lineup here, full squad coming in at the front. Cube, as you can see, Roach, Peanut, Fly, Roller, and Live.
Here is Griffin.
Their first Canadian final, Valdez. It isn't the one they wanted. They weren't at Worlds after all of the talk, but there's been so little talk.
Genji versus Griffin in one best of 5 to decide our 2018 Kespa Cup. Both of these teams looking unbelievably strong with their rosters. Cannot wait to see who will come out here as the victor. Let's get into it, guys. Genji versus Griffin. Let the games begin.
전진하고 있습니다. 4번을 정리하고 결정으로 갑니다. 잭 선수 파괴됩니다. GG 그래피 4번을 3대0 이진영 혹시 펜타각인가요? 간단하게
From 1100 range already in the bot lane.
Oh, they got him! Oh, there's the Devourer, but the poison and the Ignite isn't enough. What's got it? First blood goes to Lahens on the Ignite.
The sieging duo here.
Uh-oh, gonna force that stopwatch. Here is Sion. Gonna miss Life as Life with the fancy feet here. Peanut gets extremely tunked out, and now Tom Kench has to go down. Death Sentence does miss on the back with a huge Ezreal ult. Viper with the split-second stopwatch there is going to survive. Well, how about a sneak Baron? Peanut says no. And okay, they're going in onto Peanut here. Even the Scion is here. Peanut's all alone. He's going to go down. Unfortunately, he finds something in the woods that he did not want to find. The entire enemy team is going to burst him down. And now the Casio has blue buff. They're going to start this up with triple Mountain Drake, as we mentioned.
So fast! Here comes the TP as well. They're going to force this one, you think?
Double TP's Ruler going for the early burst on that one, but no jungler means that no hope of stealing away the Baron is possible. They're going on the chase here. Cube going 1v5, trying to get that poke on in is Ruler and Fly, but it's just so hard. The entire team would like to accelerate things here a bit, but a forced fight coming in from Griffin now. Gonna miss. Oh, he actually gets the death sentence, but the Devourer was there. Grey Health comes in, and Kive this time does have the TP. Tarzan takes a bunch of damage.
He's so tanky!
He's unbelievably tanky. He's got that stone plate. Life and Ruler, though, a little bit low here. Tarzan, oh, there's the death sentence, and he does have the Devourer, but it does not matter. 2 members might go down here. Tarzan with the assassination, and it doesn't look like Genji have the damage this time around. Fly just desperately alone. It's not going to do it. The reset comes in. Tarzan, did he go too far? It doesn't look like it. Peanut doing his best. He is going to get the kill, but in the end, Griffin take the ace, and they're going to push. Griffin take the fight. That Thresh pick, we weren't sure about it for Lahens.
Well, it's going to take a while.
Yeah, they're going to go for the kill here. Cube doing a nice job of that so far. We got 7 seconds on Ruler. Life is available desperately. Trying to stop this one. You can feel the desperation in the top catch. But it doesn't look like, okay, Ruler trying to get on in there. He does burst down the heads, but it doesn't look like it's enough. GG, game 1. An unbelievable victory goes to Griffin. Boy, it's saying, We will support you. Now they want to turn on a Tarzan, then Electrocute comes out, and now Viper comes in, the ultimate. They're not going to go the miasma into the stun, but there is the cleanse by life immediately. Can they burst him down? There goes Toby. He wants two. He will get two. Can he get out alive? He will get out alive. Lahens even has his ultimate, and Toby with the masterful follow-up. No Ezreal on the kill. There you go, Griffin up 2-0. Free rip now. Control comes in. Can the smite steal come in? Yes, it will. Tarzan able to pick that one up. Lahens goes in with the headbutt. Still has his ultimate. Picks up that Rift Herald. Will they go for the fight? Lahens looks like he's in too much trouble. Doesn't even matter that he has his ultimate, but fantastic trade anyway. They're going to go for the Baron here. We said this before. The Mountain Drake and Cassiopeia already bursting that one down, but Gen G knows something is afoot. Lahens on the case here. TP's going to come in. They're trying to burst away Peanut, and they will. Smite comes in pretty easily, and they want a bit more, getting on top of life here. And now Ruler in the backside doesn't have much. Can they get in there? Life is going to go down. Lahens trying to set up more kills, but look at Toby going mad mode in the backside, takes out two more. Ruler all alone as well is going to run to the top side, so 2-3 more kills to the side of Griffin plus the Baron.
They just can't do anything against Toby's 1,000 gold bounty. This guy is stronger than everyone else on the map. Tarzan just needs to interrupt the back here from Ruler. He's in the shop, he's dead. Ruler goes down, and no combination of 2 or 3 can do anything against him.
Well, they find Kive with the stomp down there. He's going in, wants to burst down Lahens, but a turret goes down. Life, look at Toby, he's just going mad mode, immediately bursts down that top Kent. Peanut desperately trying to stop this one, but he can't, and flies all alone now. He's going to ultimate kind of awkwardly as they're bursting down the Nexus. They want more kills, and it looks like Griffin will get another kill, another ace, and another win here as they take down the Nexus for the second time.
In game number 1, Griffin gave over one big mistake to Gen G. They give over 0, and suddenly the game is over pre-30.
Well, they did all their assignments, Griffin, and they only have one more to add to one of the most impressive performances at Kespa Cup. It would be one more win to achieve that 8-0 undefeated streak here at the Kespa Cup in games. They're one game away from doing it, and we'll see how they do. Say 100 points in my heart is Griffin. I feel like a lot of fans are beginning to feel that way about Griffin, and I'm sure they'll have even more fans jumping into LCK 2019. We'll have to wait and see if Gen G can come back in this one, or if Griffin will get the 3-0 victory. Let's jump into game 3 and find out.
까지 30초 남았습니다.
Here we go. Once again, game number 3. Ruler, buddy, that's really scary. That's so much damage, and he has to take his E first to just get out alive. Better than using your flash, I suppose.
And so it has Ignite, so you know the enemy jungler's coming to help. He has to. Bot side.
This is what I was talking about. Does it matter that he has the cleanse? The stun comes in. Is the damage enough? Yes, it is. First blood goes to Viper. Doesn't matter if he has stopwatch, if he has cleanse. He is still going to die to that Jace Braum combo.
Things start to stack up for Griffin.
Once again, in a best of 5, it feels like game 3 is slowly turning into the most one-sided game that we do have in the series. We'll see what Gen G can do to fight back. They do have the Tom Kent and the Abyssal Void trying to get the steal, but it does go the way of Tarzan, it looks like. Now Kive trying to come into the backside, denies that dash, and he's going to get in there. Toby, also super low, at least picks up the Rift Herald. Can he get away?
He's trying.
Is the question. He dodges a lot, gets the stun.
He got the
heal from Viper. He might just get out alive. He's so fast too.
She's up on Peanut.
Heal onto Peanut too. They don't want to use too much, but Toby finally goes for the early flash there.
Escape. It is.
There it is. The stun goes in, but does the Viper go down? It looks like he will, and Toby is gonna go down too. Griffin, maybe this time, taking it a little bit too far, and Gen G, credit to them, finally finds the kills.
And also the Gragas attacks, they need Fly and Roller to be popping off, and you can see that Fly is super afraid for his life.
They don't have vision of where Tarzan is, and he's playing so unbelievably carefully. But at least Peanut's here, but is it going to matter as Fly is just going to pop like a balloon, and now Toby going deeper for Peanut. They have the ultimate. There's the double kill into stopwatch. There's the fadeaway from the side of Griffin.
The ult from Israel as well.
Unbelievable. These guys are putting on a freak show right now. Griffin, unbelievable plays.
How do you sidestep the Ezreal ultimate after all of that? It's supposed to go down. You're supposed to be bad and down, but no. He stays alive. Chovy continues in the mid lane.
Boy.
He's found a Tom catch.
And nothing that life can do to get away.
Peanut's not been spotted. They have no idea about him. Maybe they can take down Chovy, but here's the backup.
Okay, the teleport comes in, and you might have your question answered, Papa Smithy. Trying to turn onto Peanut here, but the stopwatch is there. Stun onto Ruler, but he gets devoured as they want to turn onto the backside. Big shock blast by the Jace's Viper. Nearly takes out Peanut. A flash away from the stun by Peanut. Now Fly gets too close to the sun, and he's going to get ignited down by Lahens. At least Ruler is able to trade back one. It looks like he wants a little bit more. Still on the chase here. Can he find the snipe? It's not enough damage here.
So important they got the answering code. They're still on the rift. Here's Arcane Shift.
Flash forward. Could Ruler begin to turn this one? He gets another one. Misses that one, but Viper in a lot of trouble. Picks up the double kill. Has the devour, and Ruler finally is beginning to show what he can do on the rift. No doubt he's telling life, follow me, follow me, follow me. Gets in there, and Peanut is going to face check here. Looked a little bit weird, but there it is. Peanut all alone. Not the first time this is going to happen this series, as this time on red side will face check and gets taken out. He's going to get a little poke onto Tarzan, but he just laughs it off. Still has his flash.
Tarzan carries more minions in the mid lane. His Viper taking a lot of damage, so kill him. Go wide. Aurelia's forcing times. Okay, that's interesting. He died mid-air to
roller
the
coaster. Roller coaster play there from Sword as they take out the Poppy. And it doesn't look like Genji is very long for this world, as Griffin putting on another astounding performance in a finals now, in another best of 5. Can they stop Griffin? They're down 10,000, but Griffin's sticking around. They know they have the 5v4 here. Aurelia coming from behind, just waiting for that flash. She catches everybody in the ultimate. That's going to do it. Everybody melts in the backside. Fly will survive, but it does not matter. And it looks like Griffin are going to take the victory here, guys. 3-0, once again, undefeated in the Caspa Cup. They win the finals, 3-0 over Genji.
Congratulations to Griffin. They get their moment in 2018. Not the moment they looked for, but the moment they will accept.
2018년 리그 오브 레전드
It's a really fun
캐스퍼컵을 빛내준
Caspa
선수들.
Cup. New rosters, new patch, great preview.
스웨덴 에릭센 스튜디오에서 펼쳐지고 있는 한국과 스웨덴의 e스포츠 교류전 만나보고 계십니다. 앞에서는 서버너즈호에서는 조금 아쉬운 성적을 보여줬는데요. 이번에 만나볼 종목은 바로 리그 오브 레전드입니다. 리그 오브 레전드 종목에서 한국의 자존심을 살려낼 수 있을까요? 경기 바로 만나보시죠.
All right, that means that we are ready to go with our second sports competition of the day. This is going to be a game called League of Legends, and if you are familiar with it, well, I'm not surprised, because it is one of the biggest esports and just game titles in the world, but you know, it might be something that a lot of our viewers who are less initiated with esports, may not be quite as familiar with. So
That's right.
hopefully we'll be able to kind of break it down a little bit, kind of share some more information about the game with you all today.
Yeah, if we were trying to break down League of Legends to its basis set of description, what exactly might that look like? Well, it's 2 teams of 5 to start.
That's right. And that's really kind of what it comes down to at its basis. It's 5v5, so 5 players on each team. And the objective is to destroy all of your opponent's buildings. Those buildings are in 3 lanes, and so you distribute your players around these 3 lanes or pathways on the square map, and you try to push through the different defenses until you finally destroy the main building at the core of each player's base. So in essence, it is about teamwork, and it's about working together to claim victory over your opponent's team of 5. And here you can see actually those players on your screen, the team from Sweden and of course the team from South Korea.
And what's fascinating about League of Legends is while you're doing all that teamwork, while you're trying to accomplish these goals together, you also have that subtask of building up your own character the whole time.
You know, it is a very simple thing to say that you should get stronger, but it's how you get stronger. You do that by gaining gold from killing minions, which are these tiny little creatures that run down the little pathways that you travel through in the game. So the skill at which you are able to defeat these tinier monsters gives you gold that you spend on items that you use to power up your character, to gain experience points, and to become powerful enough to destroy your opponent's buildings and win the game in the end.
Exactly. There's skill built into every aspect of this game, from knowing when to use your skills, from landing the skills to minion management, managing to get that last hit on those minions. Every aspect of this takes training. So that's why what these players have gotten to, what they've accomplished together both alone and as a team, is so incredible.
You know, that's right, Evan. The biggest thing about this game is cooperation. And you'll actually see teams of maybe lower skill level players triumph over higher skill level players just because they are able to work better together. And, you know, while that may not be common, it is actually really exciting to kind of see what it looks like when 5 players on one team really coordinate all of their abilities together. You might not know what all of the abilities do, but you'll see them all be used together, and it just looks cool. So trust me on that one. We'll probably get a chance to see some really amazing team fights that really kind of showcase how visually beautiful this game can be.
Yeah, no matter what your knowledge level of League of Legends is, you can appreciate a good team fight. That's anybody.
Absolutely. You know, I'm sure that we'll get a chance to kind of see the different styles that both of our country national teams do bring here, because similar to our match at Summoners War, you know, this really gives players and teams individually and together the opportunity to kind of customize the way that they play the game, and from buying different items to moving your champions into different positions, or when you choose to fight and where. There's a lot of different priorities that you can make in League of Legends that really allow you to express yourself and your team's individual strengths.
That's right, and my mind is still fresh on Summoners War, where I just gave that short speech on threat assessment and management, and knowing when to engage your enemy in League of Legends is something that I've struggled with in every MOBA I've ever played.
You know, it's a very kind of fine line, and in truth, the greatest skill that you can have in League of Legends is to see the potential that exists, whether it's how you fight against another player individually, or how your team fights against another team together. You have to be able to have the vision, the experience to kind of figure out how that should and how that is going to go ahead of time, so you come out victorious on the other end. So yeah, very complicated. You just, the simple way to say it is you just have to get a feel for it.
That's
but
true.
Obviously, I think that goes for most things where experience really is everything.
Yes, it's acquired. And one thing in League of Legends as well, just as knowing how to manage a threat and engage in combat, it's equally as important to know when to back off.
Oh, for sure. Discretion is the better part of valor, for sure. And I think you'll see some players and teams who have that hyper-aggressive play style. They just really love to fight all the time, and that's really fun to watch. But it's not always the best play style. And I would say that some of our South Korean players, at least from the information that I was able to find out about them, are very aggressive players. And so I think you'll kind of be in for a treat when it comes to experiencing what it looks like to see this game played at a million miles an hour.
So let me ask you this. When you say aggressive, is aggressive synonymous with greedy?
There are different kinds of greed. There's like economically greedy, where you try to play passive on a late game character that becomes more and more powerful over time. Or there's greedy, where you decide to play so aggressively that you never allow your opponent to really get any advantages over time, because you're keeping that pressure up all game long. And, they both come with their benefits and, consequences. But I do think that it's a big indication of the priorities that a team wants to go for. Which ways they try to cut those little tiny corners and get those small advantages.
In every game that I play that has a competitive element to it, I always end up being that greedy player that shouldn't go for stuff, but I do.
I identify with that on a very deep
Awesome.
level.
I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, because I'm the type of guy who in Summoners War, I'll let the dots do their job. I'll believe it's like, that looks like 5%. I'll leave it.
Okay.
And in MOBAs, I'm just like, I'm going to pursue this kill. I got it.
That's true. And sometimes you'll actually see illustrations where players, because no player is perfect, we'll kind of make those analysis-based mistakes where they will think that they have the potential to get a kill on this enemy champion, but they misjudged it just a little bit, and sometimes it's a little bit funny, but other times it's very relatable if you've gotten a chance to play these games. So I don't know exactly what to expect when I was looking up the players on each one of these individual teams. I think the skill level might be slightly mismatched in some situations. For example, our South Korean League of Legends team is the current collegiate champions from the Collegiate League of Legends circuit in South Korea. So each college in South Korea has the opportunity to create a team of several players that compete for their school scholastically, intramurally. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, it's the hardest word ever.
That's right. And they do that in South Korea. And the champion of that competition, which I believe is called, it's like CLB or something.
That's crazy. So it's like the rowing
LCB,
team.
there you go.
It's like the rowing team that I had in college if it was way cooler.
Well, I mean, you're a little bit biased there, but in truth, it is actually really cool to see these LCB competitors come together and be able to compete here on an international stage. These are college kids. If you're watching and you're in college, or if you've ever been in college at any point in your life, which I think it's safe to say is a very trying time in life, right? You've got a lot of things going on, and so do these. The collegiate programs in South Korea very, very vigorous. And so for these players to not only be juggling that task along with the opportunity to travel internationally, that is a lot to think about and kind of juggle all at the same time.
Yeah, maybe it might be time to study abroad for a little while, form a team. Anyway, so we're about ready to introduce our players before we go forward into the match.
That's right. So let's go ahead and get ready to showcase our players. And here we are. This is a look at the League of Legends roster for the country of Sweden. They are Olaf Beden, Anton Andersson, Linus Gronlund, Jacob Fransen, and Johan Olsen. And you might have heard these say their real names, but their IDs are even more famous or infamous in some cases. Flashish, Viking, or Viking Anton, Royal Cannon, Cookie, and Cly, or Clyback. These guys are monsters of the European League of Legends scene. And their opponents from South Korea are, no joke, definitely deserve to be respected because they are the champions of not only their collegiate league, but also several other collegiate and university cup tournaments. They've also played at other tournaments like IEF, or the International Esports Federation, if I'm not mistaken. That is a tournament that was held in China that allowed these collegiate teams to come and participate to represent their schools and their countries. And so these players from South Korea have a lot of experience playing together, even if it's not playing at the tip-top level of League of Legends competitive play.
Right. And so are we about to see some fireworks, though, from the stage?
Oh, I think that's safe to say. Perhaps not literal fireworks, although I did see some pyrotechnics back there. But
some impressive lights.
The fireworks in-game for sure. While I mentioned that the South Korean roster actually had the opportunity to kind of play together in these collegiate leagues, it's actually kind of interesting to see the similarities from the Swedish roster, because these guys have actually had the opportunity to kind of play together in a bunch of Nordic tournaments. Specifically, last year there was a tournament called King of Nordic, and it took a lot of these Nordic teams and pitted them nationalistically against each other. So you had the Swedish team and then teams from other Nordic countries all competing in this tournament. And the Swedish roster was one of the strongest. They have some of the strongest players, not only from the times that they played together, but also from the times that they played on other teams. In fact, some of our players have been on over 20 teams because they are so sought after, they're so experienced, they've been playing for so long. It's just really impressive to see kind of the pedigree of some of these Swedish players that we'll get a chance to watch here today.
That's incredible. Do you have any players that you're really looking forward to seeing play?
You know, I can't really choose too many favorites, but if I had
You know
to pick
what?
one,
Yeah, I feel that. Don't worry.
if I had to pick one player from each team, we got a chance to kind of see the players' names up there. So if you remember those, the top laner, so the player that plays at the top of the map for our Swedish roster, Flaxish, has been on a very high number of teams, but also has really achieved a very high pedigree of League of Legends skill over the course of his illustrious career. And so you should probably consider that. And then from the Korean side, we have a jungler named Cream, and he is not a player that plays in the lanes or the main pathways. He likes to kind of weave between those main pathways and surprise enemy players along the way, and he's just very, very good at doing that. So I really am excited to see kind of not only the relative strengths of these players, but also the teams as a whole when they all fight together 5v5. That's just really going to be an exciting spectacle to behold.
So if you're playing League of Legends, where do you sit in the match? Are you a jungler? Do you prefer a lane? Where do you sit?
I play a little bit of everything. It kind of helps you to get a view of what you should expect. And let's keep an eye on this picks and ban phase, or the draft phase. We saw something very similar when we were watching Summoners War earlier, and so you can actually see here the bans that are appearing right below our beautiful faces are the champions that are taken off the board, eliminated from this first match. And these are actually very targeted bans, specifically the literal Viking, a character named Olaf there. You can see banning the Viking from the Vikings. Not only do they have a jungler whose name is Viking, but there's
so many layers
there's some
to
synergy
this.
there.
Yeah.
You might kind of put yourself in the same mindset that they're in pretty easily.
Are you expecting any particular bans to show up right now?
I think the Talon ban, which is the first ban on the right-hand side, is very understandable. Not only should you expect to see that in the mid lane for Nari, but, well, I guess you won't expect to see it here because it has been banned.
Because it's been banned, yeah.
There might be a focus on jungle and top lane champions being banned, as Sweden has very strong players in both of those roles. And potentially some support bans. You already see that cute kitty cat down there named Yumi, one of the newest champions in the League of Legends. Well, we won't be seeing her here today. And our first picks are coming through. This is very exciting. We have a champion named Aatrox, who's a big sword-wielding demon character in the top lane. And on the other side, we actually have a support champion named Thresh, who's this undead chain warden that swings his lantern around and is a really cool support champion that will be played in an assisting role in the bottom lane for our Swedish team.
Very excited to see these champions in there. So who are you expecting to see picked now? I've asked you about the bans. Are you anticipating anybody else being picked?
You know, one of the greatest things about this current era of League of Legends is that there's actually such a wide variety. In fact, in our professional leagues, we have almost every single champion picked on a competitive professional level.
Awesome.
So it's really incredible to see kind of the versatility, but also just the variety of the possibilities here. Now, we have one more champion being picked here by Sweden. It's a champion named Jarvan the Fourth. It's a very sort of royal character in keeping with some of our delegates here today. And he is a very powerful jungle champion. He runs between the different pathways on the map and is very good at picking up kills on enemy players. And then on the other side for Korea, we've picked up Kaisa, who is an attack damage carry champion who runs along with perhaps our support champion Nautilus that you see picked right below her. And then that could be a combination that you see show up in one of our lanes. But now we're moving on to our second ban phase coming up here. That's what you see right down below.
That's great to see. That reminds me of the SWC mode of Summoners, where we get the additional ban phase right there. And now, how much do you think these teams have prepped for this little exhibition match that we're having here today?
Thanks to many websites out there, it's very possible to look up information on your opponents, your opposing players, and the champions that they do play. And so you're seeing a lot of target bans, not only the Viking there, you can see haha funny, that's a kind of an overt illustration, a little bit on the nose, if you will. But you're also going to see maybe not specific champions, but specific types of champions that play to your opponent's play styles. For instance, we're seeing a lot of jungle bans come out of Sweden for their second rotation. I mentioned that Cream, the jungle player who plays in the jungle between the main pathways, we call them junglers. So Cream is a very powerful player, and so you can see his champion pool being limited by banning champions like the Elise, the Spider Queen. That's the most recent ban there by Sweden. And on the other side, we finalized that with a Cassiopeia ban. She's like a Gorgon, if you're a fan of ancient Greek and Roman mythology. She turns her foes to stone and does a lot of damage. So we're finally finalizing both teams' rosters, and it looks like we have found the jungle champion pick in the form of that Gragas, which should be being played by Cream.
There we go. Now, what does for those unfamiliar with League of Legends, what does a well-rounded team look like?
So you can have a lot of different kinds of team compositions, and really that's where a lot of the expression and versatility lies. So for example, this team composition from Korea looks fairly well-rounded, but also just really beefy. No player on Korea's roster, no champion, is exceptionally vulnerable. All of them have a lot of different ways to escape or come back alive in the form of Aatrox, the champion that you see at the top there. He has this ability where if he gets a kill while using his ultimate ability, then he is able to revive, come back to life, and deal even more damage. Whereas, in contrast, on the other side for Sweden, we do have some relatively vulnerable champions in the form of the Sivir, the warrior princess there in the middle, that Royal Cannon is picked, and the champion right below it named Syndra, who is this sort of powerful demigod that wields deadly spears and throws them around. Those will be swapped, and that's exactly what we just saw right there. So both of those are very vulnerable, immobile champions, and so we're going to see a dedication to protecting them because they deal so much damage.
So now are these players shuffling up? Is that their goal right now?
That's right. So there's a different phase in this game as opposed to Summoner's War that you might have seen earlier. In this draft phase, you're able to pick and ban several champions, and then right before the game starts, you can see the countdown timer on top. You swap them around, put them on the players that you want to pilot them, and without further ado, it looks like we're ready to get in to our game of League of Legends.
Here we go. Very excited.
That's right, and so you can see us while we load in the game here. A couple of things I'm very excited to see. Several times in League of Legends, you can have what's called a snowball start to form. And for our Swedish team, that's definitely possible. Whereas for our South Korean team, they're just so strong and beefy that you can actually see them sort of muscle their way through the early game and really take a commanding advantage early on.
So are you saying that, do you favor one team over another just from the pick ban?
You know, just from watching these players, I don't know what to expect, so we'll just have to get into the game and find out.
Let's do it. There we go. Looks like we're already in the game.
That's right. We're starting off with our one and only exhibition match of League of Legends. Our team from Korea is in the blue on the left-hand side of your screen, and our team from Sweden is in the red on the right.
Lumju doing what he does, sneaking around in those bushes, trying
That's
to
true.
Can catch somebody off guard.
You completely accurately summed up his role. So you have a lot of champions that will spend their time in these main pathways at the top, middle, and bottom of our map. But also, you have some champions that are adept at killing some neutral monsters in the jungle to get gold, experience, power up, and then attack and surprise the champions in the more traditional pathways.
Now, there we go. The minions have started spawning, so we're about to see some of that minion management we were discussing earlier. Now is going to be the primary phase where folks can start farming for that gold. There we go. Just fooling around in the jungle while you got some time, right?
Folks, I love how colloquially you describe this game. It's like we're watching some good old television. We got some nice folks
we got
out
some
here.
nice folks.
And by the way, they're competing against each other on an international scale, and there's also a lot on the line here. So lots of things to think about. But let's go ahead and talk about the way that this game is going to start off. We have our 5v5 game kind of distilled down into some 1v1 competitions here. Because of how big the map, the play area is, you can actually see that early on, while we talk about playing the minion management role, you can actually see teams kind of split up into smaller groups to try to get as much gold and experience as you can find.
And just to expand on what you just said, what we're seeing is different areas of the map. If you want to see where we are relative to everyone else, you can reference the bottom right corner of the screen with the mini-map. I saw some great spacing from this team earlier while they were maintaining parallel alignment, making it difficult for the enemy to engage them early, because the last thing you want is an untimely death right in the beginning of the match.
Oh, that's very true. And we haven't seen too much action just yet. So let me take a moment to sort of guide you around the different information that you're seeing on the screen. For a game like League of Legends and just esports in general, if you're not familiar with it, it can be a little bit overwhelming. So while you see the characters being played by the players on stage moving around on your screen, the different information really tells you a lot about this game. So at the top, you can see in the middle, that between the sword icon, that is a list of the number of kills that have happened. We're very early on, so you shouldn't really expect to see very much there.
Just yet.
Then right next to that, you can see the timer down below and the amount of gold that cumulatively both teams have accrued. And that it gives you an idea about how many powerful items they've been able to buy and kind of how well they're doing. And then on the farthest side, those little tower icons illustrate to you how many buildings have been destroyed. The more buildings destroyed, the closer that team is to winning the game.
That's right. And as we progress further into the game, you're going to see them start pushing in their lane, trying to get to those next towers. And depending on how they handle those minions, you can get a good grasp on how these players like to play the game.
That's right. And we might be setting up for our first gank or attempt at surprising some of these players down on the bottom half of the map. So you can see the green character, the Chain Warden Thresh, is looking to throw out his chain, grab somebody, and combine his strength with that Jarvan IV Prince character that we saw there waiting in the bushes. But because the Korean team was playing so carefully, now they've decided to try to turn things around. Flashing forward,
getting
that's
some damage.
A lot of damage done there, but Cookie barely survives with just the last sliver of hit points. Now, top lane, we've got another gank coming in here. This is Cream, the very powerful Korean jungler. Now, turning into an invulnerable pool of blood.
And that's first blood. There we go.
That's incredible. The spacing, the timing, but right on the other side of the map, anything you can do, I can do better, says our Swedish roster. And that's 2 kills coming their way in the form of devastating that bottom lane.
So fast. Right next to each other, those kills. It's funny how quickly the game starts to accelerate from the beginning phases of this. Just farming for that gold, trying to get some. They just went back and did a little shopping spree right there.
That's right. They had a lot of gold left to spend. And then they were able to use a summoner spell, which is a very long cooldown ability to teleport themselves back to their lane. This is another way that you can kind of customize your character depending on which one of these summoner spells you pick while you're, choosing your champions early on. Now, what we're seeing right there, that is a very fiery dragon, and fire helps you deal a lot more damage. And so if the teams are going to prioritize slaying that dragon, they're going to become a lot more powerful themselves. Now, top lane,
there we go.
Look at that damage.
That's no trade coming from here, just all raw damage.
Wow.
Oh, and retreats behind the tower just in the nick of time. Wow.
Flaxish, incredible just wherewithal, his game sense to know that he would just barely survive there. Very, very well played, even though he is pushed out of lane, which will put him at a disadvantage.
There we go, just a little dance right here, just taking 2 to tango while they take blows at these minions, taking a quick look in the jungle, just see what's going on here with Cream, doing what he does, hiding in the bushes to see who comes by.
That's right, and bushes here are, there we go. Bushes here are a very important concept in League of Legends. They allow you to kind of remain stealthy, and oh, look at that.
Trying to get something going here.
Flashing immediately, but Cookie able to dodge and go right back under turret. These turrets are very powerful, and that's going to put so much damage down. One last swing of the chain, and Clyde is able to pick up another kill for Sweden. A teleport down to the bottom lane here by Swain, our sort of Quoth the Raven Nevermore style champion from the middle lane. Uses that teleport summoner spell to maneuver down to the bottom lane and add some extra support.
Here we go with the top lane, getting a little bit closer to that tower every time with those minions. As long as those minions are within the radius, you're not going to get shot first.
That's very true. The minions sort of give the towers a little bit of something to preoccupy themselves with. So if you're kind of wondering what might be happening, the minions run underneath the towers, they fight each other, and they keep the towers from dealing their very powerful damaging attacks to the champions near them.
That is, unless you make yourself known and do something a little bit suspicious.
Yep.
Here we go, another look in the jungle just to watch some farming, trying to take down some of those monsters in there. See some more lurking around in the bushes, trying to get some damage in. Nothing came back for Nari.
That's right. Nari has been kind of a more passive player this game, not one that you'll look for. Oh, Viking Anton! He's waiting in the jungle, and he steals away the buff.
Steals
goes
and
for the kill.
Wow!
What an incredible play. Viking Anton saying, this is my jungle, and he's coming for blood.
The steal and the kill.
That's right, looking for another one. Now he's rejoining the rest of his team down on the bottom half of the map.
in.
There's no way to escape.
Looking to make something happen.
More. One more auto attack.
They're trying to go, and they got it.
Hit. 2 kills immediately off of a dominant play by Viking Anton.
Meanwhile, in the top lane.
That's right. You can see Flaxfish is kind of getting bullied here, using a flash spell to dodge that.
That was perfectly timed.
That's right. That flash spell has about a 5-minute cooldown, so very, very long. And so it's important to use that perfectly. And he was forced to use that there just because he is having a very hard time in that lane after Lumju, his opponent, was able to get a very strong advantage early on.
Really made it count. Here we go. We're seeing a lot of damage from those caster minions on that top tower. While we see our Korean team respawning, coming down the middle, or down the bottom lane, excuse me, one more time, working their way downtown.
That's right. And so let me turn your attention down to this big sort of bank of information at the bottom of your screen. You're going to see a lot of numbers. That's gold. That's the amount of value that our players are worth, essentially. The bigger number is their total net worth. And, oh, Fox is getting pulled backwards. That's very, very dangerous. Let me kind of talk about what our team's priorities are here for a second. You can see what they're doing now is placing wards. These are little tiny... oh no, he's gonna die! This is so
going
crucial.
in!
Lumju gets the last hit to claim a bunch of golden experience for slaying that Swedish top laner.
Here we go, and now he's freeing it up so that his minions can go claim that tower. I love that Lumju never lets anyone go without getting a little bit of damage. He's always there to remind them, it's dangerous to approach me, keep your distance.
Now, League of Legends is a game of priorities. So while we saw Korea have a very strong presence on the top side of the map, that dragon, which makes your entire team just deal more damage, is on the opposite side. So if your strength is top side, your bottom side might be a little bit weaker. And that's what Sweden is exploiting to take that first big objective of the game, slaying that Fire Drake.
So now they're going to be dealing more damage for a certain amount of time. They're trying to... it looks like they got him surrounded.
Yep. Going underneath the turret. Clyde gets taken down. A counter gank, surprising the surprisers. The Swedish lineup lose their support player, and that's just such a big turnaround by Korea.
Lumju making some headway here. Here we go again. Flax is coming up, hiding around the tower. It's a little unsafe for Lumju to go that way, so he's going to take the long route through the jungle, it looks like. And then we got him fighting some monsters right now in the jungle.
That's right. He's kind of doing that under cover of darkness, but is going to need to escape. He's going to get the last hit. That's right. So he claims the golden experience and steals that away from Cream. So,
and now it's time to run while he try to make as much space between him and those two enemies as possible.
That's right. Man, every time we watch this top lane, Evan, this is a very difficult lane for Sweden. But now look at mid lane, an amazing roam through the jungle to try to put pressure onto Nari. He's gonna explode that explosive plant in the jungle, bounce himself away, and now, we return to top lane. This is again going to be a very strong lane for Korea. Lots of damage being done there to the Swedish top laner.
Killing it up there. Killing it up there in the top lane. That was beautiful. Just wanted to acknowledge that environmental awareness before, too, using that explosive plant to get out of dodge. I thought that was fantastic. Go trying to kill another boss, get a little bit more experience, a little more gold.
That's right. That is, oh wow, look at how crucial this back and forth game is going. Top lane,
there we go, and
auto attack.
Got him.
That's right, the strong gets stronger, and that top lane is very weak for Sweden, very strong for Korea. But if they're able to continually claim these neutral monsters, then they'll be the ones in a strong position. But now,
Vikings going to, it looks like Vikings going to have to do something crazy to get out of this, and he does.
He gets
but
out.
There's more.
He escapes, but he more crucially, if he dies here, that's bad, but okay, so he does die in the end. But more importantly, he was able to claim what's called the Eye of the Rift Herald. And that monster that you saw, the big sort of crab-looking thing, is called the Rift Herald. And that monster exists to kind of be an objective that gives you a very strong ability to summon it later on and take down a building.
Are we about to see another kill added on
I think we are. Royal Cannon is doing a lot of work, but he needs to be careful because he's at very low health, so he's vulnerable to being killed. So he's playing it very carefully.
Here we go. It's almost refreshing being back in the middle lane for a second. There was a lot of excitement in the jungle, lots of potential kills. It's good just to see some gold farming, maybe a little bit of slow pushing, trying to get to that tower, bring all those minions forward.
Yep, that's absolutely right. And so just to sort of take stock and give you all an overview of how this game is going, the top side of the map is very strong for Korea, very weak for Sweden. But over time, we might see that champion, Vladimir. He's like a blood-sucking vampire. For Sweden, this champion is very, very powerful later on in the game. So if he can just stay alive, he hasn't been able to do very often, then later on in the game, he will be very powerful.
And there we go with Sweden claiming the first turret of the match. Hard to believe with how much action we've seen in the top lane that first turret is still there.
You know, that's actually a really good point, because while top lane was going very well for Korea, Sweden was able to get 5 kills in that bottom lane and claim the extra gold that you get from destroying the first turret of the game. And that represents that they are just one step closer to claiming victory in this match.
Back in the jungle, space, great environmental manipulation. I love seeing them dodge through the tower, dodge through the walls like that to get to an advantageous position.
Just moving as fast as possible.
Trying to evade the environment here. There we go, gathering up all those minions, trying to get a nice amount of gold. Just do a fast push real quick.
You got to get the gold everywhere you can. And there's a lot of analogies between League of Legends and things like economics or strategy or whatever you want to call them. Just being as efficient as possible. Now, Flaxfish understands that he is at a very difficult position, and look at that, so much damage that he's taking, even when he's defended under his protective turret.
And that's great spacing from Lumju. He knows when to withdraw, because as soon as you start attacking an enemy champion, that tower is going to start aiming at you.
Oh,
It
yeah.
deals crazy amounts of damage.
That's true. You have to be very, very careful, but there's really nothing that Flaxfish can do here.
Nope.
He's so weak, at such a big disadvantage, that all he can do is sit back and watch his tower be destroyed. And that is the first turret of the game destroyed by Korea.
There we go. And there's a ton of other factors as well, but just looking at their base levels, going against a level 11 while you're at level 9 is not always the best strategic. It's not always the strategic thing to do, especially not without your team behind you. And that's the essence of League of Legends. You can only do so much on your own. You need your team to perform objectives.
Now, once the first towers start being destroyed, there's no longer these safe bastions of defense out there on the map. So it becomes a very dangerous place. And what happens is your teams have to group up to defend each other because the turrets aren't there to defend them anymore. And now, especially around powerful objectives like this Infernal or Fire Dragon, there's already been one claimed by Sweden. Now they're looking to take Infernal Dragon number 2.
They're trying to steal some of the progress that was made by Sweden right now. Korea looks like they're coming up.
That's right, going in so much
there we go.
damage. Core Lumjob is just doing so much damage to Sweden. He dominates that fight, does crazy damage to everyone, and starts that off with a 2-0 advantage.
This is a crazy pursuit.
Cly going down, and the snowball is starting to roll. Lumju, the top lane Aatrox player, is so powerful at this stage in the game that he is able to just dominate anyone in his path.
He's so far ahead, it's incredible. We got 3 deaths on the enemy team. That's going to set them back because this whole time they need to wait to respawn and then walk back to support their team. So while they're gone, Team Korea has time to just do whatever they want on the map. Try to make some progress on a tower, maybe.
That's right. And, previously, Sweden had the advantage of taking down a Fire Dragon early on in the game. But now, Korea has equalized that advantage by taking down one of their own. So really, this game is starting to get very, very close, but Korea, with that big team fight win, is doing just a little bit better and finds themselves in a pretty strong lead.
And just a couple cuts ago, we saw one of the unsung heroes of this match, Viking, doing his best to get all the buffs, all the gold, all the experience he can in the jungle, navigating his way through there, waiting for a gank opportunity, trying to surprise somebody perhaps. It looks like he might have found one if he can get another teammate in on this.
That's true. You might think that you're safe when you're kind of staying underneath a tower, but you might not be. So you always have to be very aware.
Burst damage is very much a thing to be afraid of.
And really, there's a lot of that on both teams, but specifically Korea, with a very strong top lane champion and complementary champions really can just disappear. It's like a magic trick.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like stealthing, waiting around. That's the name of the game right now. It seems like everybody's kind of on the same page, just waiting to see if they can get a surprise attack.
That's right. League of Legends is a very positional game. And oh, look at that. They've caught out this top laner. Very powerful one-on-one, but against the entire team, he might not be so powerful.
Is he going to be able to get out of this?
He's almost just barely.
Wait, but did he get? He got out.
Last tick of a health lets him survive an incredible survival there by Korea.
It was incredible. Wow. I'm still reeling.
It is a magic moment there. But in the end, it still means that Sweden has kind of a power play. If you watch a lot of hockey, it's just a very powerful advantage in that top lane, and that's going to allow them to destroy the top lane turret in return.
There we go, Sweden making moves on that second tower. They're trying to get that. They're trying to get a leading position right now, and Korea follows up with another tower destroyed.
That's right. We're actually very even when it comes to objectives being destroyed in this game. Both teams with their own individual strengths, but overall, they've managed to claim the same number of objectives.
Was that the top tower that we just saw vanish, finally, after all this time?
That's right. It took a long time, but we did it. And so now we've got a kind of evenly opened game with the towers in top lane and bottom lane all being destroyed. So it's kind of a dark and scary wilderness out there now, and you'll see teams kind of group up together to make surprising plays that their opponents might not expect.
And we saw Lumju back at it again with the minion farming, trying to get them closer to the next tower.
Oh my goodness.
Taking a lot of damage here. That was not the best trade I've ever seen in my life.
For sure. Not a good deal. But I guess he was returning back to base anyway. And you can do that by pressing the B button on your keyboard.
Head back.
And that lets you go back and heal up and buy your items and then come back out onto the map a lot stronger.
Teams joining together, trying to get in, trying to make something happen, get some kills. Right now, Korea's leading in kills by 2, 9-7. Though ultimately, that's not a tower.
That's exactly right. We're 18 minutes into the game, so already this is a much longer game than the previous ones that we've showcased.
That's right.
And these games can usually last between 20 and 45 minutes. So right now we're coming up on kind of some of the key times during the match that allow players and teams to really get big advantages by grouping up and having these big, powerful fights. So
speaking of grouping up, we got 3 players here in the mid lane trying to get this tower down, though it's cut short because the enemy team is now here. Sweden always trying to make sure that they don't get their towers without putting in a fight.
Yeah, very just kind of strange dance that our teams are doing. And this is just one of the beautiful parts about watching skilled League of Legends teams, is that it is like a dance. They're both trying to maneuver around to get into a better position than their opponents.
Yes, between positioning, just avoiding damage, making sure that your trades are valuable. There's so much to manage at any given time. It is like a fluid motion of a dance. Getting a couple pokes in on that enemy in the jungle, just coming out every so often. There's another group of enemies. We got 4 people here, though. One's about to bail and go home.
So Sweden is looking to make a very strong play, either here in this mid lane, or you might see the yellow hourglass towards the bottom of that mini-map, and that indicates that another very powerful dragon is about to spawn down there, and both teams will really want to prioritize claiming that objective.
But we've seen already that what both teams like to do is wait for their enemy to get as much damage in on that boss as possible before they sweep in, steal it, and possibly rack up a couple kills while their enemies are at lower health because the dragons attacked back.
Yep, absolutely, Evan. And now we are starting to see these teams move towards this dragon pit. This is sort of the den of the dragon, and it's a very sort of powerful area on the map. You have to be very, very careful because not only does the dragon deal a lot of damage, but the enemy team is going to be right there waiting for you.
That's right. Oh, Korea saw someone alone, and you could see them lurking. There was nothing.
They were ready.
There's not a whole lot scarier than watching someone slowly approach you in League of Legends.
That's very true. But thankfully, Klai, our green Thresh player, was able to allow his ally to escape. But now, this dragon is dropping down very, very low. They're going to have to go in for it very quickly. Do they want to take it out? And I think, yes, this will be Korea claiming their second fire dragon of the game. In return, though, Sweden will take down another tower and claim the tower lead in this match.
They gave up that tower in exchange for the buff. What do you think? Was it worth it?
You know, it's a hard call to make, and this is one of those moments where our teams really show how good they are. They say, look, this objective is not equal, but we can do more with our victory than they can do with theirs. So let's kind of talk about what this means. When you claim these neutral objectives, killing these fire dragons, your characters get more powerful overall, but you can be very powerful and still lose the game. And so Sweden's saying, well, we can't really fight them because we're not very strong right now, but we can take an objective like that turret down, and that will put us one step closer to winning the game, regardless of how strong we are.
That's right. And now the levels for each player are starting to even out a little bit more. We're seeing them kind of equalize a bit.
You know, that's right. Things are in a little bit of a lull in the action. And, you know, League of Legends is one of a very dynamic kind of style of game where you're not doing the same thing all game long. You have a lot of different balls to kind of juggle, a lot of different objectives to keep track of, and that can be pretty overwhelming. That's why you have to be very skilled to play it well.
But it's clear that pushing is always a goal, so we just had a slow push over there, trying to manage those minions so that you can send them all as a group towards the tower at once, or make it so it's a difficult thing for the AI of the tower to manage alone, and you might need to bring a hero in to capitalize on it. There we go.
Sure.
People stealthing it up in the jungle, both teams trying to make something happen in the jungle, but it's just not coming. People are playing very safely. I definitely respect that.
I'm going to start calling them folks from now on.
You should.
You got me hooked on that one.
You should. Folks is a great term.
That's what they're doing.
Describes
they're
everyone.
just folksing it up. So the game is progressing, and we've passed the 20-minute mark. And you know how we've seen that powerful fire dragon on the southern side of the map?
Right.
Well, now after 20 minutes, this very powerful elder creature spawns on the top half of the map. Oh, look at that! Another duel over that neutral monster. It gives a very powerful regeneration buff, and Flaxish, the top laner for Sweden, was able to steal that away for himself.
Back in the jungle, we're watching these two players try to look for some monsters to possibly attack, looking for any stray champions that might have wandered their way into the wrong neighborhood. Looks like we got a group of people trying to make a fight happen that I'm seeing on the map here, but we're not really getting a good look at it.
That's absolutely right. You know, the powerful monster I mentioned is called Baron Nashor. And he is, he sort of presides over that top half of the map in his own little pit in the river. And he gives you such a powerful buff that helps you destroy towers, makes you more powerful as your champion, and so it's just such a key buff to take by slaying him. But he's very powerful himself, and so this is one of these kind of mini quests that while you're playing this game of League of Legends, you also have this additional goal to keep in mind.
There's so much task management, so like you said, so much juggling that you have to do between doing all this and finding the right time to go back home like these folks who are channeling right now, and leveling up your gear, trying to buy that next thing.
That's true. With the gold that our players get from killing enemy champions and minions, you're able to get gold that you spend on some very powerful items. And not to get too much into some of the fine details of the items themselves, but I think it's safe to say that players like the top laner, Lumju, he's playing a champion named Aatrox, he's been able to buy 3 very, very powerful items. And I think is actually the furthest ahead champion in the game right now. So very dangerous, someone that will command a lot of respect from the Swedish team.
That's right, and that's from a lot of efficient minion management, very efficient farming.
Also, he's killed 6 enemy champions.
He's done a lot of the kills. He's contributed to most of the team's kills.
Yep, and if you are looking at some of those scores, that 030 or 601 down in the bottom placard, those show the kills, deaths, and assists. In case you were wondering about that. All right, a hook going out, but it's not going to land.
Korea taking another turret.
That's right, destroyed right in the middle lane. They very powerfully take that objective, and now Sweden might be looking for a fight of their own, but they're unable to catch any Korean player out.
Tried to start something, didn't want that turret to be for free, but just couldn't catch up to him in the right time.
Yeah, you know, it's a very tenuous, strenuous game that Sweden are playing right now. They aren't as powerful in a lot of individual positions, but as the game goes longer, their team will get incredibly powerful. And so a lot of their weaknesses won't be as weak anymore. But now, here is assaulting that Baron Nashor, one of the most powerful creatures in the game. Gives you an incredibly powerful buff, and Korea is recognizing it. They are so strong, they can attempt to take this one down.
Their whole team is there, and now here comes Sweden trying to possibly trying to capitalize.
They might go to try to steal this. Will they?
There we go, they move it. They did it.
Oh my God.
They stole it.
They stole the Baron. Viking Anton used a very powerful ability to just destroy that at the last possible second. An incredible play by Sweden, and they only take one casualty, but they claim this very powerful buff.
Impeccable timing. That's exactly what we were talking about. Waiting until they had dealt a significant amount of damage, coming in to steal it, and then possibly picking up a kill while they're low. Didn't quite pick up that kill, but they certainly got that buff, and that's what's important.
And now they'll be able to rotate to the other side of the map and claim another objective down there. They slay an air dragon, and this dragon will make you move a lot faster as you run around the map. So it allows you to position incredibly well. It's just a very powerful swing. And now you might notice, if you look at the gold count by the kills up at the top half of your screen, it's actually pretty even, 44,000 to 43,000. Sweden is right back in this game.
Right. They're not operating at much of a deficit here, to be completely honest. They're putting up a great fight despite the number of kills that are in the middle. Kills aren't everything.
That's very true. And up top specifically, Korea has a lot of kills, but Aatrox as a champion might not be as powerful as the game goes on. So this is his really big, powerful moment. But Flaxish, we were talking about, he's playing this champion Vladimir that gets very, very powerful later on in the game. And we're already at 27 minutes in. As the game goes later, it's just going to get stronger for Sweden.
Leading the charge, trying to make their way towards the enemy's nexus on both sides, picking up some more kills in the jungle, making sure that they're ready for that final encounter, which frankly could come at any time now.
Very true. Another one of our slower phases of the game where both teams are sort of grouping up, trying to power up and get ready for that next time that they want to fight. The game is very, very even, and so both teams are kind of hesitant to make that next big play in case they wind up getting turned around on.
Yep, they're making sure that they're always sticking together. Most of the time when we get these camera swaps, you'll notice that some of the players, they're grouping together in at least a buddy system, at least groups of two, making sure that
that's true. It's dangerous to go alone into the tall grass, so you definitely need to take some extra assistance with you out there, no matter what form that may come from.
That's right. We saw people waiting to get those ganks, those surprise attacks from the brush. They're trying to make something happen.
That's right. It looks like they've brought out Clyde. He's a very squishy support champion, and he is down.
Boom, and he's out. Lumju, godlike.
That's true, and that represents just so much power. Now, bottom lane, you're starting to see a battle between our mid laners. It looks like the Korean mid laner Nari is doing such a good job, such a lot of damage that Royal Cannon can't fight that at all, and has to flash away to safety.
It did a great job stunning, making sure that he could get a little bit further away, just in the nick of time.
Very, very close. And now we'll have the rest of his team. But actually, look at this. We're seeing the collapse from Team Korea. They finally find that kill onto Royal Cannon, take him out of this game, and have an incredibly strong position on the bottom half of the map.
Now they're just waiting for those minions to catch up to get some work done on that tower. Here's Lumju again in top lane town.
Man, it doesn't get much stronger than Lumju is right now. He's almost to his fourth huge, powerful item, and he's just going to be incredibly strong for the rest of the game. But maybe not as a team. Oh, it's very possible that Ayun would go down here. Those ricocheting boomerangs from the Barbarian Queen that Cookie is playing. Her name is Sivir, and she can deal so much damage in an area of effect as her boomerangs bounce between champions.
That flash away was brilliant at the last second. I thought we were about to see a team fight. Been aching for one for a little while. It's been a second since we saw our last one during that boss, but safe place to channel, going home, buying some more items with all that gold. We're seeing Lumju doing the same thing.
Oh, I can't wait to see what he's going to buy. He buys a Guardian Angel, so the giant demonic character with the big wings up top lane just bought an item that allows him to essentially revive after he takes fatal damage. And his ultimate ability is very powerful because if he gets a kill, it allows him to revive as well. So he's basically unkillable at this point. And when you're very strong, not being able to die is a pretty powerful ability to have.
No joke, no kidding there. We see Thresh hanging out in the bushes. Looking, just scouting right now, just checking out options. Checking out the options. There's Cookie doing some management with Viking. Oh, it's almost weird to see Viking outside of the jungle. I'm not used to it.
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. He is so strong in that jungle where he can have that element of surprise that, you know, when he leaves it, it is kind of surprising.
Yeah. It's got me on edge. They're looking for trouble, scouting out the jungle. This is the most threatening thing I've seen in a while.
Well, one of the reasons that Sweden can do this is because they have what we like to call vision control. They place these vision sticks, whatever you want to call them, these objects down in the brushes, and that gives them vision over this area. And knowledge is power, and so they have that knowledge to be able to move around the map and really try to catch Korea off guard, turn it into a 4v5 with a quick kill, and use that advantage to claim more and more victory.
Well said. Yeah, it pushes away the fog of war a little bit so that way you can see past barriers and start making a little bit more educated surprise attacks.
That's true. You mentioned the fog of war, and maybe this is something that might be a new concept to a lot of people, but
that's true.
This is not a perfect information game like chess or checkers. You can't see most of the map unless you're there with your champion. And oh, look at this. Because Sweden can't see this part of the map, the very strong, powerful champion for Korea is slaying that dragon, which will make it very powerful at destroying enemy structures.
Lumju was very confident that he could take down that dragon alone, so he went ahead and went for it.
Oh man, what a tense game. This is a very strenuous moment for both teams.
Baron Nashor back again.
As Baron Nashor responds, exactly as you said, Evan, this is a big moment because if Sweden can take this down, they'll be even stronger because every time you slay that monster, your buff gets more and more powerful.
But now you got to be careful because that kill steal on Baron Nashor the first time around has probably put a little bit of paranoia on both teams.
It goes both ways.
It does.
You can steal it and have it stolen from you.
It hurts.
And specifically, it's the time passing that allows that buff to just get stronger and stronger. And I mean, you really can't say enough for how powerful it makes your team. So that's why you see both teams prioritizing it so much.
You can see it's not an exact science, but like look at the gold totals from both teams. These teams, this is the furthest deficit that we've seen so far. It's just about 2K. These teams are very close in skill level at this time.
That's true. That is not a lot of money when we're talking about 60,000 gold accumulated between both teams. Yeah. Late game, things start to get a little crazy. And so with some very powerful items being completed, that means that things are going to be very volatile. This is a powder keg ready to explode.
Yeah, we're just I can almost feel the kills, feel the team fights brewing in the background.
That's exactly what they're doing, like caffeinated coffee. They are brewing for us here. And I don't know when or what is going to really cause the explosion of our next fight, but it's safe to say that it might be a big objective like that Baron Nashor.
Yeah, we might see it soon. Cookie moving alone, which is the most bold thing I've seen in the last 33 minutes of my life.
You're right, it has not been a very action-packed middle of the game, but we're starting to draw in towards that late game where our champions have had a chance to farm up a lot of gold, a lot of items, become very powerful, and oh no, look, bottom lane. Where's that hook? Can
be careful.
It looks like
think of a Sweden making a move.
Yeah, 3v1, but this champion is so powerful that he might be able to destroy all of them, but he's had his first resurrection used, and so now he needs to find a kill to resurrect again. He might be looking for one, but he can't do it. That shutdown is worth almost 1,000 gold, an incredible amount of gold going towards Sweden. And now, look, on the other side, Korea is trying to find a shutdown of their own. They're going for this Baron Nashor, and it looks like uncontested. They will be able to take it.
Sweden can't really make a move here because they don't have too many players on the board.
That's right. They claim a kill on the bottom half of the map, but they lose that major objective, which goes over to Korea.
Oh, no, Sweden making moves too. And man, that kill on Lumju, that was a lot of gold and 60 seconds of respawn time, which is more valuable than I can say.
Yes, it's absolutely crucial because it takes your opponent off the map for a very long time.
A minute is a huge amount of time in League of Legends.
Very, very huge. It's 1/34 of the total time we've been playing, if you want to look at it that way. Okay, so we've had a big burst of action. Who's ahead after all of that? Well, for Korea, they were able to take this very powerful buff, and so they're going to use this buff, which empowers these minions, makes them basically indestructible, and they're going to push down these lanes, these pathways, and try to destroy the enemy structures in their way. But actually, what you're looking at here is Sweden trying to stop them. They find a catch here, and they will be able to destroy the enemy support. Royal Cannon claims the kill, and what a huge momentum shift now that Sweden has a 5-on-4 advantage.
Here's Korea, once again, trying to come back. Sweden continuing the push down the middle lane against those minions that are proverbially indestructible.
Yeah, I mean, they do take a lot more damage to slay, but We talk about how powerful all of the champions are. Sweden can deal that damage. And now they'll take down another turret to claim a 5-3 lead in that building destruction score.
That's what I'm talking about. Sweden is killing those towers faster than I can actually take in. Trying to get another one up top.
Well, I mean, they're defending their own tower up there, which is sort of the other counterpart to that. You have to not only kill your opponent's towers, destroy them, but also defend your own from being destroyed. They're doing both of those jobs very well.
Mitigating the damage that the enemy is dealing to them.
Well, now
lull.
We are in a little bit of a lull, exactly as you said, Evan. And I think for the Korean team, they have to be very hesitant because there's been several key moments this game where they have had a big advantage and then kind of thrown that away a little bit. Once in that Baron Nashor pit where they had their buff stolen by Viking Anton. And then again, where most recently they lost their support player. He was caught out, taken down, and that gave Sweden another big advantage. So now, Korea grouping up, looking to make this next spawning dragon a big objective for themselves.
Waiting there. You really start to appreciate those moments of downtime where you can assemble as a group, prepare for the next fight, try to get some buffs on your team. Here comes that dragon.
That's right, and this is an Elder Dragon, so this is a very powerful dragon. It spawns very late into the game after 35 minutes, and it will make your abilities so much more powerful. They burn, they deal true damage, which is unmitigatable. You want to say that 5 times fast.
Unmitigatable, I'm going to stop there.
That's true. It basically means your damage is going to deal damage no matter how many defenses your opponents have built.
Reminds me of ignore defense, like we were just talking about
it's
a mere game ago.
Almost the exact same concept. And so for Sweden, if they are able to take that buff, even though they might have been at a deficit at certain moments, now they might just be able to take it. But very, very sneakily, Korea bounces over the wall by exploding that plant, and now they might be looking to find a fight. Look at that incredible engagement.
Trying to secure a kill.
They find an immediate kill, and they're able to slay the Elder Dragon.
The dragon.
So now Korea has a very strong, powerful buff. Will Sweden choose to fight them? They might be able to find a kill, another kill rather, but they've lost one champion themselves. So it's a one-on-one.
Oh, they got another one.
Their mid laner goes down. They're looking for another one.
Getting the kill.
Cookie gets killed.
That's 3.
That's 3 for 1, and what a huge advantage for Korea.
Amazing trade, 3 for 1. I'll take that.
A huge team fight afterwards, and that team fight might just spell victory for the Korean team.
Might smell it too. Now they've made their way up into the enemy base, trying to get the way to the Nexus. This is the first time that we've seen anyone get this close.
That's right, they could go all the way.
Just one more layer of turrets between them and the end, but now everybody's starting to respawn, taking the fight to them.
They're going for it. They're trying to destroy the turret. Can they do that before they are slain? One after another, the Korean team is taking down members from Sweden. But are they going too far? Are they overstaying their welcome?
That's the dangerous balance. Are you overextending, or are you getting the right kills? They've decided to back down before they lose too much, just cut their losses before they lose their whole team, and now keep it so that it's just losses for Sweden.
Wow.
That was quite a bit of excitement. I wasn't expecting that.
You're right. This has been an incredible match, and honestly, one that really showcases how strong both of these teams are. But for right now, I think Korea have just claimed an not an insurmountable advantage, but a very solid one, because you'll notice that thing that we're seeing on your screen right there, those destroyed buildings. That specific building, when it's destroyed, makes all the minions along that pathway, those little cute little guys that you see running down, that makes your minions very strong and powerful. That's why you can see that big one with a shield being destroyed in the middle. Makes your minions very powerful, and they will push into the enemy base and try to destroy all their stuff, which gives you a big advantage.
So getting that first lead leads to more incremental leads down the line.
Absolutely. One thing leads to another, leads to another. And so if Sweden can find a way to turn things around, they have to do it soon. Otherwise, their base will keep getting destroyed.
I'm going to be very impressed with Sweden if they can turn this around. Sporting 7 kills less than Korea, though, again, that's not insurmountable. I think you said it best.
We're about 40 minutes into this game, so it's actually going pretty long. For the most part, this is a very strong performance from Korea, but they have had moments of mistakes. So let's see what this final moments of this game will look like. Oh, a chain will hit onto Nari. He's very low, but the members of Sweden just aren't there. They finally get into the fight, but they can't deal as much damage as they need to. The Baron Nashor is slain, and now they're picking up one kill after another, after another, after another.
It's a rampage.
Korea is rampaging through this Swedish team, and finally, they will be about to slay the final member of the Swedish team and claim an ace. They have slain everyone on the Korean team. The crowd goes wild, and with it, Sweden might have just lost their opportunity to continue playing this game. Korea about to claim victory.
Viking has left the game. It looks like they are yielding to that one. Great job, Korea, with that very impressive win.
They're impressive as well, so congratulations to our Swedish team and our South Korean team, but in the end, the Republic of Korea players will be able to claim victory. So an incredible game, back and forth, up and down, really showcased a little bit of everything that esports and League of Legends has to offer.
That was a great series of exhibition matches. That was the hardest thing I've had to say in a while. I'm honored to have been here to be part of it. I'm sure the players loved representing their countries. And again, it was just amazing seeing these two countries come together over a love of esports.
You know, this is the very first Korea and Sweden International Esports Exhibition. There we go. I got it right.
Wow, complicated terminology.
That's right.
It is the
Basically,
first.
this is the first time that they've officially come together with the different esports official organizations from both countries coming together to form an auspicious event like this. You know, we had the dignitaries from both countries join us, and just what a momentous moment this was. Thank you all so much for joining us. I hope you all had as good a time as Evan and I did. We're about to wrap up our first esports exhibition match here between Korea and Sweden. So let's go ahead and head down to the stage.
Hey girl, you're looking dangerous tonight. And good sense comes first, so we're gonna have to improvise. And I know that I am undeserving of someone like you, son. I've searched around the world. Everywhere we go, baby, girlies around. We got it going on, but not really care like my girl. Like my girl. On the streets, making a voice that we got it going on. Nothing compares to my girl. To my girl. You drive me wild. You got me hooked to the way you shine. That swag, that style, there's not a girl like you. My house, the blind, the driving, the boys.